everyone, welcome to the show. My name is Amanda Ostrander. I am a teacher-turned-homeschool mom, and this is Raising A to Z, a place where we talk about all things homeschooling, and today we're going to be talking about educational board games. We are talking about board games today. We are a board game family. We love board games. Let me tell you, we try to play at least have one night of board games a week. Sometimes more. A couple weeks ago when we had a unexpected home day after I accidentally locked my keys in the car and left. My husband left with my keys. We ended up playing like 3 or 4 board games. Like that's just the kind of family we are. And I'm not upset about that because board games are phenomenal. They're a great way to practice so many like social skills, taking turns, strategy, play. You've got to use logic and reasoning, being good sports. That can all come out in board games. But then there's also games that are like actually teaching and practicing skills, like educational skills. And that is like the best because like if you can play a game and you have your kids practice their multiplications, why wouldn't you do that? It's way more fun than doing work page after work page after work page. And the kids are probably going to remember it more. So I thought I would do a little series, like a mini series, like 2 videos on some of our favorite board games that we own. And I thought today I would start with some of the more math-centered board games. So let us get started. And like I said, I will put links to everything down below if you're like, I really want that game. Find it down below. It's the holiday season. Things are going to go on sale. So today we're going to start with math board games. And we're going to start with a few of our favorites. Let me just grab a stack here. I'm going to start with one of our favorite games because it is one of our favorite games. It is Kingdomino. We love this game. Basically, you have these little tiles that you are working to collect every time for every round. There's multiple rounds. You collect a tile and you are trying to build a 5x5, so 25 square kingdom, using these little tiles. And the little tiles have different pictures on them. They have little, woods and seas, and there's like wheat and like a swampy land. There's mines. It's all kinds of little like different places. So there's also like fields. And so you're trying to build a kingdom that's going to score you the most points. And the way you score points is by collecting pieces of land that have the little crowns. And by having the crowns, so let's say this one has 2 crowns on this field kind of piece. If I have it next to another field piece, so I have so it's 2 field pieces times 2 crowns. 2 times 2 is 4. So this would actually be worth 4 points. And so you keep going and you're trying to build them, so on and so forth. And it is super fun. There's lots of like multiplications, and that you're definitely practicing multiplications when it comes to this game. And there's like a lot of like decision making because you have to place them in a certain way that all the pieces that are the same color are touching in order to score points. You're very limited in your space because you only have 25 squares, which is tricky. And you also are picking pieces depending on the order of how pieces are picked changes every round, which is like a whole other thing. But it is a super fun game. It's super easy to learn. And the other thing I love about it is it's 15 minutes. Because once all of these little tiles go, and you're playing 4 tiles at a time, like once all these little tiles go, the game's over. So it literally takes 15 minutes and then you're done, which is nice. It's nice to have a game because I find sometimes the really good games are really, really long. This is a great fun game that is super short, super educational, and it's absolutely just like the funnest thing ever. We play this game all the time. So if you're like, I need something for kids to play with me, Kingdomino. It says ages 8 and up. Zoe's been playing this with us since she was about 7. She plays it and she probably started playing when she was like 6 too. Probably 6. She couldn't do the math to score it. Like that was the only thing. But now that she's doing her multiplication, she can actually work on scoring it. So if you're willing to score it for your kids, I would say 6 and up. Kingdomino, super great. Mancala, this is an ancient game. It is considered one of the oldest games in the world. It is derives from the African continent, and they play it using this board, and you have all of these little glass or stones, like glass stones, or like sometimes it's stones that are different colors, and you're moving them from one section to the other, trying to collect, because whenever there's pieces in the wide section at the end, then you get to collect and keep those as your points. And so it is actually a fairly simple game to play because you're just counting, but there's a lot of like strategy of like, okay, if I count this many to go forward, then I get this many points, but if I don't count that many, then it's a lot of strategy. So it does say 7 and up. I would say 7 and up is a pretty accurate age, because you do have to be able to kind of like forward think to play it well. But it is an excellent game. The other nice thing about this game is it's super simple and portable. Like, it's easy to bring places. So like, we've taken this to coffee shops and played it quite easily because it's not a huge board. Like, it ends up being quite small, and it's a really nice option for like if you're traveling, because like you can teach it to pretty much anybody in very, very little time. So a great game. It is definitely using like a lot of counting, which makes it a math game, and it's fantastic. So Mancala, another great option. I love a game that has multiple options to be played out of one game. And so Dominos would be a game that falls under that category. Dominos are fantastic. I grew up playing Dominos. I don't really know why we grew up playing Dominos, because I didn't really come from a super board gamey family, which is funny because now that we're adults, my mom is like really into board games, but I don't know. We played board games. Dominos was one of them that we played quite often. I have like lots of memories of playing Dominos growing up. Basically, I'm assuming you all know what a domino tile looks like. You have different numbers on each side. Sometimes they're doubles of the same. And the nice thing about them is there's lots of different games you can play. If you get a good instruction set, it should have a couple of games like built in your instruction set. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4 different games built in. There's so many more than that, but like that's just in a basic domino set. It is very easy. A lot of them involve having to match like a tile. I'm trying to find tiles that would match here. Tiles to tiles. And if you end up matching, like to make them connect and trying to get rid of your tiles as quickly as possible, because you don't want to have tiles at the end, because the more points you have, the worse you do. That's typically the domino game that we played. We've also played Mexican Train, where everyone has their own little outshoot of what they're playing on. That's a lot of fun. We've played this many times. Depending on the version you're playing, like basic dominoes, you can easily play that with like when you're like 4 or 5, if you can start counting, and you're going to be doing a lot of like counting numbers, scoring points. Recommendation, if you're looking for such a loud game, a good domino game, I always recommend double 12s or higher, because it gives you the most options. You can get a double 6 game, but then you only have 36 tiles. Double 12s or higher is great for more people. So you can easily play with 4, 5, 6 people with double 12s. I think you can even get up to double 16s, but that basically just means that it has the same number on both sides. This is a double 7. So it has the same number on both sides. And then all the numbers in between. So you can play with more, with less, but I always recommend a double 12 at least. One with a good carrying case also makes it a lot easier to play. But yeah, Dominoes, great math game, lots of skills that go into it. And then the nice thing about Dominoes, you can use them for other things. You can like stack them and build with them. You can also these are great for math. If you're doing like adding, multiplying, subtracting, division, because that's a division. That's a division. You can multiply them, add them. They're great manipulatives just to have in general. So Dominoes, Super educational, super fun. I'm actually going to leave this out because I kind of want to play dominoes now. Next game we have was something I played a long time ago with friends. Like, I mean, like 15 years ago. And I was like, oh, this is so fun. And we played it for like a week or like a weekend at camp or something. And then we ended up, like, I never played it again because no one ever had the game. And then I was like, oh, we're going to buy Dutch Blitz. And so I did get Dutch Blitz. We have actually played it a few times and like, we love it. Alexi loves it more than Zoe, but that is not because Zoe can't play it. Zoe's just slow. Zoe has her own speed. She trucks along at her own speed, and Alexi doesn't. Alexi's fast. So there's all these different cards. There's 4 colors. So you're trying to get rid of your cards. On the backs, there's different pictures. And you assign yourself, you pick what picture you want to be. So you want to be the bucket, you want to be, this is like the water trough. There's different ones. And you pick the picture you want to be, and you're trying to get rid of your cards in chronological order in a certain pattern. And you can place, like, you have to have them in a certain pattern on your side, but you're also trying to get rid of them in like chronological order, 1 through, I think it's 10. And you're doing it as fast as you can. And everyone's playing all the time. So like, that's the nice thing, is like, you're not waiting your turn. So you're always playing. And it is so much fun. I do recommend though, if you're going to learn to play Dutch Blitz, some games you can read, and like Kingdomino, you can read, you're like, oh, that's actually not too bad. Dutch Blitz is a game you need to see to actually understand. This is something that we've started doing over the last year or so, is when we get a new game, we don't even read the instructions anymore. We just Google how to play Dutch Blitz video. And there's people out there who explain how to play Dutch Blitz in 3 minutes, and it makes so much more sense than any of the instructions. So this is super fun. There's a lot of like having to do number ordering, which is like so important, but also like having to keep track of what's in your kitty, as well as like the points at the end, and like keeping track and keeping score of the points, because every round that you play, you're adding the points, and it's fantastic. We actually love Dutch Blitz. That's recommended for ages 8 and up. Zoe can play it. She's just she just trucks along at her own speed anyway, so she's never a fan of a game that involves speed, but it is a fantastic game. Next game is a great game if you have a non-reader, but it's still math. So this game is called Honeycombs. We love this game. Essentially, you have all these little tiles that have different pictures on them. And there's, again, like regular dominoes, there's lots of different versions of this game that you can play. You can play where you're always trying to make like triominoes, like 3 connect, where you're trying to get rid of your tiles, where you're trying to all play on the same board. There's lots of different games you can play, and they're all actually included in the instructions. Zoe took my instructions. Zoe likes this game. Some of them are speed-based, some of them are not. So there's that. And essentially you're trying to make matches between the little pictures, and they're all like little bee themed pictures. So there's a bear, there's a honeycomb, there's flowers, there's a honey pot, there's a little honey swirl thingy, and you're trying to make them match. And some of them have like little numbers in the middle. That's for like different games. Sometimes you don't even worry about those. Oh, there's little bees too. The bees are like wild. And it is similar to dominoes in that you're trying to like make the matches, but because it is a hexagon and there's like 6 sides, it's tricky in the sense that you have to, if you're going to connect them, you're connecting more sides than just 2 numbers. And it is actually like a lot harder than it seems. My 8-year-old routinely beats me at this. So it is very fun. I don't have the recommendations on this. What's it say? It doesn't actually have an age on it. I would say probably ages 5 and up. 5 and up, 6 and up, because it's pictures, so they don't need to know numbers, but it does involve a little bit of strategy, and it's a great game. But yeah, it says it has 3 variations, which is great. So 3 different games based off of this. So awesome game. Love it. Matching is an underrated math concept, especially for little kids. Blokus. Love, love, love this game. It is kind of like a board game version of Tetris. So there's a lot of different shapes, and you're trying to do like spatial awareness and area. And there's also point systems that's going on. So you have all these little pieces that are all different numbers of squares, and you're trying to place them on a shared board, which makes it more interesting because the more pieces you get rid of, obviously as the game goes on, you're losing space because you can't actually have your pieces connect, like fully touch. They have to touch corner to corner. And as you get into and like spread across the board, you're running out of space. And then at the end, when no one else can play, because sometimes you just get to the end and you just can't play anymore, you get points for the number of little squares you have left. So if you have like a T shape, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 5 points to you. And so then you have 5 points, and if someone has 2 points, then you lose. So you're trying to get rid of all of your pieces throughout the game. It's not a speed game, so you can take your time. But it is definitely an interesting game, especially when you're looking at like space and like spatial awareness. You're looking at like point values. You're trying to come up with like all kinds of like area and perimeter and all of that. And so it is a great math game. I think it's a highly underrated math game, and it's just like a lot of fun to play. And you can play it. The nice thing is you can play with 2 people. You can play it with 4 people, 3 people. Like, it's very easily adapted. And I was gonna say, I would recommend, this says 7 and up. Zoe's played this for a long time. No problem. So I would say like 5 and up. Keeping in mind that the pieces are small and you don't want them to put them in their mouth. So if you have kids who don't put things in their mouth, you can obviously start earlier. The next game I have is Rummikub. This is an old game. It is a classic game. It has basically, you have kind of like little trays that hold all of your tiles. Your tiles have all different kinds of numbers, and they're in different colors. Usually 4 colors per board, like per game. And you are trying to put your tiles out with every turn. And you can only put tiles out to do certain things. So you can either do a set of matching numbers. So everything has to be at least 3 tiles, which is, to make a new set, you have to have at least 3 tiles. So for example, you could put out 3 8s. You could put out 3 2s, but they have to be one of each color. They can't all be the same color. So it has to be like a red, a black, and a yellow, or a red, a black, and a blue. Okay. You also can put out runs in the same color. So you can put like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and play 5 of them and have them, but they're all blue. And so that's like pretty simple enough. That's a lot of like figuring out, but then the like next level of the strategy comes in where you can actually like start to break up someone else's run. So let's say someone did like 1 through 7 in blue. Okay. So all blues, and you have 2 4s. You have a red 4 and a black 4. You can take their run of 7 and break it up and take their 4 out to make your new set of 3, to make a new set of 3. You can also, like, let's say there's only, someone had placed like 1, 2, 3. I could also play like the 4 that would like add on to that set. So you are sometimes making new sets. Sometimes you're getting rid of your set, like adding 2 sets that already exist. Sometimes you're moving sets around. It is a lot of number play, and because it's all available to play on one board, it does take some space. This is not a compact game, but it is a lot of like number sense that's happening, because what happens is the last one person gets out at the end. And then everybody else goes through, and you go through the points. So however many tiles you have left, you add up all the points, and then that's your score, and it is lowest score wins. There's also these little like face tiles that are wild when they're played, but they're worth like 50 points when they're in your hand, which is wild. I'm going to put a link, like I said, I put links to all the games, but I'm going to put a link to a more modern game, because this game is my husband's grandparents' game, and this is just like so old. So old. And it comes with this, like the worst carrying case for a game I've ever seen. So I will put a link for a much better version of this game because like the pieces don't even fit this box. But we do love the game. We play, his parents have a version that have a different case, and we play that all the time. It's great. Okay, we're gonna get into some classic math games. When I think math game, this is two games that come to my brain immediately. The first one would be Monopoly. Can we, like, I don't even think I need to explain why this is a great math game. We're talking about money, adding, subtracting, multiplying, because, you know, when they have houses, it's worth so much more, 2 times the rent or whatever, right? There is so much money math that's happening when you're playing this game. I don't even need to like sell you on it. Now, things that I would recommend when you're looking for a Monopoly game. If you're dealing with young kids, this is Monopoly Junior. It is very, very similar to standard Monopoly in the sense that you have places to buy, money to expend. There's no mortgages, which does shorten the length of the game. And the numbers that you're working with are much smaller. So I think it's like 1 through 5 is the money, which is a lot easier for younger kids. So this game is actually rated 5 and up, much easier. If you want to play like a more classic version of Monopoly or anything like that, go for it. I know there's all kinds of Monopoly variations out there. There was like a Canada one. We had a Sudbury one at one point, which is where we're from. There's all kinds of like Monopoly versions out there. Things I would really consider though when you're looking for your Monopoly version is that it is a standard cash version. You can get Monopolies where it has like a debit card and like a calculator that does all the work for you. I think that kind of defeats the purpose of it being a math game. It also takes some of like the tactileness out of it. So I think if you're going to invest in a good board game like Monopoly, invest in one that has the cash. And if you're like, I don't have any cash, you can buy Monopoly cash replacements. If you have a game, you're like, oh, we don't have the money, you can buy cash replacements pretty easily. So Monopoly is just such a standard. We love it. Monopoly's great. Another classic when I think of math games is Battleship. And if you can tell by this box, this is ancient. This is my husband's Battleship from when he was a kid. So it's got to be like 30 years old. But Battleship hasn't actually changed that much. If you are going with the classic version, which like Monopoly, I always recommend the version where you are just placing the pegs into the thing. You're placing the pegs into the board. Classic. They still look very similar. The logos have changed and updated a little bit in 30 years, but you know, you have the white pegs for misses, you have the red pegs for hits, you have the 5 battleships. It's fantastic. The math skill you're learning with this is reading and grid, which is, I don't think a lot of people consider it a math skill until you actually have to do it and you're like, oh, that's hard. And kids, actually, I find a lot of kids have a hard time with reading a math grid. Even for my teaching days, that was always like a struggle until you brought out something like Battleship. And then very quickly they figured it out. Again, go with the classic version, not the electronic. If you're looking at Battleship, Battleship Classic goes on sale all the time. And it can be as low as like 14, 15 bucks on sale, Canadian. So like, it's a great repertoire. It is 2 people, obviously, which is kind of the downside because you can't really play as a full family, but it is a great math game to play like one-on-one with your kids, or have them play. And it's actually really fun too. So classic, not the electronic version. And then I have 2 more games. These are a little bit more modern. They are not math games in your traditional sense. It's not like a Monopoly where we're, you know, counting money. It's not a Dominos where we're doing numbers. It's not Blokus where we're like putting shapes in. There's math involved, but it's not the same kind of math. So let's start with Catan. This is a family favorite for us. We absolutely love Catan. This is the family version. I don't recommend the junior version because it does take a lot of the elements out of it. It kind of like oversimplified it. Family Catan is actually pretty darn close to the original Catan, and like you could like, it's very, very similar. It has the board. It has everything you need. It's the big difference is you don't get to customize your board. That's like the one big thing about Family Catan is that the boards are kind of set, like they're pieces, like a puzzle. So there's puzzle pieces and they all piece together to make your board. So you can obviously switch them to be like back and forth and where you put them to make a board. But in the like real Catan version, each hexagon, you're placing it on the board. It's different. But it takes one less element out of the game and it does simplify it a little bit. So yeah, there's that. But we do love Catan. Catan is a great game. It's probably in my top 5 games. We play Catan all the time. It is a little bit on the older side. What are the recommendations here? It says ages 10 and up. Zoe is 8 and she plays it decently. Like she can play. She does not win at this age. But she can. Like she can play Family Catan easily. Alexi has been playing Catan for probably 2 years with us and won the other day, and she's 10. So it is definitely a game that kids can play. This is also a game that I recommend watching a video because it's not complicated, but it does make the learning process a lot faster. Basically what you're doing is every time there's rolls, you're getting different points, depending on what numbers roll. So if they roll a 5, they look for all the numbers that have 5. So whoever has a house on the corner of like a hexagon that has 5. So right now it would be like, if I had the board set up, it would be like this grass area. You would get a piece of grass or field or whatever it's called. Oh, they call it wool because that's where sheep are. And you're trying to collect different elements essentially to be able to build things. So you have like, so there's wood, brick, wool, wheat, and ore. Those are the 5 elements that you have. And you're trying to collect them in different numbers and increments to build different things. So a wood and a brick gets you 1 road. A wood, a brick, a wool, and a wheat gets you a house, or sorry, they call it a settlement, which is like the single little house guy. And that gets you 1 point. And then 3 ores and 2 wheats get you a city, which is worth 2 points. And then you can also buy development cards that are like wild cards, but have different points in them or different like things that benefit you. So you can get night cards where you can like move the robber and steal the robber, which is another rule in the game. You can get announced in Monopoly. Stefan did that the other day when we were playing. And Alexi was not happy because you say, I want a Monopoly and I want all the brick. And everybody who's playing the game has to hand over all of their brick. Sometimes you just get points. Like this is like a palace. You just get a point. A university, you get a point. Oh, a year of plenty that you just get to pick new elements just to have. It's fun. And so your whole point is you're trying to build these roads because you have to have so many roads to build cities and settlements. And every time you build cities and settlements, you get points. And you need to get to 10 points. This game takes about an hour. We've kind of like, that's what we've noticed. But it is super fun. And the like tracking the points and figuring out how much you have using your resources. It's a lot of different skills. So that's why I like, it says 10 and up. I would go like 8 with assistance. 8 with assistance, 10 up on their own. But it is a fantastic game. It does take about an hour, which kind of sucks, but it's not too long, which I really, really enjoy. And there are certain things like there's points for like the longest road. So whoever has like the most connected road gets 2 points. And so like the last time we played, the game went on for a long time because it was between Zoe and Alexi, and they both had the longest road, and they kept like jumping back and forth because one would put a road and take those 2 points, and then the other one wouldn't have enough points to like win. So then it was at like 9 points, and then you go back to 7, and then they would put a road and switch and take it back. It was a whole thing. So there's a lot of math involved that doesn't necessarily look like math, like figuring out what's worth your points and stuff. It's a lot of math, a lot of strategy, a lot of planning, but it's a lot of fun. And then the last game I have on my list was a game that my kids got for Christmas last year. And it is recommended for ages 8 and up. And so Zoe loves Catan. She likes Catan. She plays it with us. She's quite happy with it. She is only now starting to play on her own. She used to like pair up and play with me. She's just started playing on her own at 8. Alexi's been playing on her own for a year or two, but Alexi's a little bit more of a board game kid than Zoe is. So when we got Ticket to Ride, I was like, I kind of thought Zoe would play with one of us, and that's how that would go. I was so wrong. Zoe took to Ticket to Ride like a fish to water and thinks this is probably one of her favorite games to play that she is like full-heartedly into. So Ticket to Ride, you have a board and you are trying to complete different routes. So by drawing different cards and collecting cards, you're basically buying sections of track and you're trying to complete a route that is predetermined for you. And by predetermined, I mean, you have these so you have routes that are decided for you, but like this one is Calgary to Salt Lake City. Calgary to Salt Lake City is worth 7 points, and how you get there is completely up to you. If you want to take the long way around, you can do that. But then how you get there is once you connect the two cities. Obviously the most economic way is to try to do the shortest route possible, but that's not always possible because some routes don't have 2 lines. So you can't have 2 lines running at the same time. So if someone buys that section of track, you can't use it. And the other thing is all the routes have different points. So like Calgary to Salt Lake City, it's a shorter route. It's worth 7 points. But if you want to go Seattle to New York, it's worth 22 points. And that is huge because you're getting points for every section of track, but then you get bonus points for completing a route. The problem is at the end of the game, if you have a 22-point route, and you haven't completed it, those are deducted from your total. So if you were at, 80 points at the end of the game and you still hadn't completed Seattle to New York and this is in your hand, you're down to, 58? Yeah, 58 points. So you're trying to get the most points by the most track with the cards that you're being dealt and that you're pulling and you're holding and you're saving. There's a lot of math, but then also it's fun because you get to place all the different pieces of train track, and Zoe thinks it's the greatest. She loves it. It has so much training, tracking that's happening. It actually even has a little backstory, which I highly recommend reading when you play the game. Because it just makes it all so much more interesting because you're basically the characters trying to complete their mission. So it's fun. We absolutely love it. And I have a whole class of here. Anyway, Ticket to Ride. It does take a little bit longer. So it says recommend 30 to 60 minutes. I find 60 minutes to be the most average length of the game if you're playing with 4 people, which we usually do. But it is super, super fun. And then Alexa took this over to my mom's house, and my mom, she likes to play games, but she sometimes gets overwhelmed with a game that has lots of parts. So Catan, she found overwhelming to learn all at once and to actually play. She picked up Ticket to Ride like this. So it is not a complicated strategy game to explain, but it has a lot of strategy play. And then sometimes you're okay, I know this person needs this set of tracks. I'm going to buy that so they can't have it. Right. So you can sabotage people, and it's fun. So lots of math involved also because the different sets of track are all worth different amounts, which just adds another level. So tracking points and making decisions and budgeting what you need to play, what's the best bang for your buck, what should you play, distances, routes, all that makes this a very mathematically challenging game, but it's not complicated and so much fun, if that makes sense. So these are my top recommendations for math games that we are currently playing on rotation that we love. But these are not the only games in my collection. So I'm going to do next week a whole collection of language and logic games. Yeah, so definitely want to make sure that you are subscribed so you get a notification when that happens. If you guys have math games that you love to play, please drop them down below. Let's share the love. I am always looking for new games to add to our collection, as well as like Christmas is coming. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys are subscribed and click the bell to get notifications so you know when I put out next week's video, which is all about language arts and logic games. Because math is not the only skill we practice while playing board games. You want to make sure that you get that information. Consider becoming a member because you get all kinds of coupon bonus information, you get early releases, you get coupons and all kinds of stuff. Also, make sure you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, because that is where I'm going to show you how we play these on a regular basis, as well as like when I'm subbing out school for a board game and that kind of stuff, see how it actually works in a homeschool setting. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.